Welcome to another edition of the Team Turnbuckle Podcast on the IB Sports Podcast Network. Team Turnbuckle is IB Sports' only wrestling podcast with the dynamic trio. I am the Chief Keith Fleming. With me, as always, surrounded by gold, ravishing Ronell Tinsley. He's got 3 championships literally over his shoulder right now. And Sam, almost on a shooting spree from work. Sam Howe. What's going on, guys?
Oh, watch that. I don't need to be on some fucking FBI watch list or another one. I'm sure I'm on.
I'm doing good, guys. Actually, it's 7, but, you can't see them.
Eat your heart out, Omega. Eat your heart out, Omega. I love it. As you can tell, we're excited. Wrestling is back, man. Like, what a week. The crowd is the oxygen. And actually, let's just get right into it. Off the top, the crowds are back. And, man, kudos to the Money in the Bank crowd. Kudos to the Raw crowd. Kudos to the AEW crowd, which was electric on Wednesday. I think I heard Mike Bren say at the end of the finals game 6, which, again, I apologize if this is paraphrasing or not completely correct, but he said that the fans bring the oxygen to sports. You know, they're the lifeblood. Like, yeah, they're not the ones actually on the field. They're not the ones in the ring, but it's their reaction, their passion is what really makes this stuff awesome. And I mean, we've talked about this. It was weird for the last year and a half not seeing fans. Wrestling, to their credit, went on. It was what it was, but man, is it great to have crowds back and just seeing those live, honest reactions.
I was glad that we didn't have to do the empty arenas were rough. I've probably watched maybe 4 hours of Impact and ROH in the last year, but watching Raw with like the Thunderdome, it was like methadone, and now we're back on heroin. Just happy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, though, man. Having the crowds back, seeing a lot of the reactions that we figured we would get, like the crowds are really like booing Roman, and he's just like eating it up. A lot of people, and I know we'll probably touch on this later on, but it's just great feeling the pulse of the people along with the moments.
So full discretion, I am somebody that I pride myself on this and all the podcasts I do, that when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I believe both you and Ronell, I know Sam told me for sure that Roman Reigns was going to get cheered, obviously, at the initial because people were just excited to see them. And then after that, people are going to boo him because they respect the heel work he did. I didn't believe that. That is the exact reaction he got both at Money in the Bank. He got it on Friday. It appears like that's where it's at. And to the crowd that's doing that, like, kudos, because it's going to be so much more exciting with him getting, booed. So, good for them. So I don't want anybody's head to explode, Sam, but the rumors are, and I mean, these are coming from sites. The first site that I saw post both of these is a site that has gotten a lot of news right in the last 6 months. So this is not your, Twitter user, I don't know, AEW Mark.
Bodyslam.net. I was making fun of this yesterday, but go on.
Well, but I'm telling you, I did look it up. They have gotten a lot of stuff right in the last 6 months. They first said yesterday that Daniel Bryan has basically all but signed. He wanted freedom to, and this was the AEW, obviously. He wanted freedom to, go to New Japan, to basically kind of do what he wants to do, which we know WWE is not going to, do that. So it makes sense in that sense that he would sign with AEW for that reason. And then if that's not enough, if that's not like, holy crap, CM Punk apparently, there may not be pen to paper, but they are talking dates. They're talking figures. I just want to know, like, what would be the internet reaction? Because we know Tony Khan had that comment that, right, there was an event coming up that there would be a surprise. Is that what he called it, or a?
He said something about a debut that was going to be bigger than Andrade.
So, I mean, no offense to Andrade. This is no disrespect. Please don't take it the wrong way. I'm like, that could be literally anybody. But if it was,
I thought it was based on AEW's track record. I thought it'd be really funny if like Mojo Rawley came out. It's like, oh no.
Well, I thought maybe that we got the dates mixed up, and when Chavo showed up on Wednesday, it's like, oh, it's Chavo Guerrero. Of course, it's way bigger than Andrade. that if CM Punk and Daniel Bryan showed up on AEW on the same episode together, it's like a team or a faction or whatever. The internet, the three people on this podcast, like it would be pandemonium. And it, not to be a total mark or a total internet fan, but it would feel like a seismic shift in the dynamic between AEW and WWE for AEW, not only to get Daniel Bryan, who's arguably outside of Cena and Lesnar, the biggest star of the last decade, and then CM Punk, who is a guy that's been gone for so long that's why there was posted in the group, who do you think would be a bigger signing, Bryan or Punk? I think it's Punk just because he's been gone for so long that people had kind of got to the point where they thought maybe he won't ever wrestle again. But I mean, goodness gracious, this could be huge.
I have to be honest. I'm going to surprise people because these are my two favorite wrestlers of all time.
What?
At this point. Yeah, I know.
Not Randy Orton.
Yeah. Or no, or Karrion Kross. I'm not hugely like. I would rather Punk not come back. I think that he's like I really respect it. He was like, nope, fuck it, I'm gone. And I feel like I whatever they do, I'm going to support them and be really excited because I'm just a fan of both guys. Bryan Danielson is like, I'm just excited to watch him go out there and have amazing matches. That's going to be fucking awesome.
Well, and they both, with the one kick against them, right, is their size. Like both of them are smaller guys. In AEW, that's not nearly as big of a deal. It's a much more of a work rate, promotion. I mean, God, I was trying to just list off all the dream matches for the two of them. The list gets really long, really quick.
They're actually, it's the generational thing. They're not small compared to, I mean, especially in AEW, but
right.
Guys who it's different than it was when they started the WWE.
Yeah, like for me, especially, thanks to you guys and going back and watching the Summer of Punk, really starting to understand the impact that he had on the business, and the fact that it's both his name right attached to Bryan Danielson. Like my mind is literally right now a volcano just starting to kind of churn, and it's waiting to pop off. And honestly, I'll be quite okay. It's been a long time since I've had a wrestling moment that just really wholly out of me. So
there's been two, in my opinion, in the last decade. Brock Lesnar reappearing after Mania to attack John Cena, because that was like, holy shit, Lesnar's back. And then The Undertaker losing. And that's the list. Maybe Money in the Bank. I guess you could maybe say Punk leaving with the title. But even then, there was a chance. The Lesnar showing up and The Undertaker was just like, I can't believe what I'm seeing.
The Lesnar winning for me, I never thought the streak was going to end. I thought that it was like a fuck up too until it happened. Like
so did the whole crowd.
Yeah.
Let's get into what was the biggest much to do about nothing this week. And I'm going to try to school some people here. And I hate to do this, but like we need to go to school a little bit. Karrion Kross debuts on Raw.
Give it to him.
He loses to one of the greatest wrestlers in the last 15 years, Jeff Hardy, who cheated in a short match. And what's so funny is I would be willing to bet my life the people bitching about this just makes NXT look so bad and what are they doing are the same people that hate Karrion Kross and they think he sucks and he's not as good as Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano and all these other guys. But you know what? They want to be able to say, look, WWE can just really fuck up any guy from NXT. So if they can't get Karrion Kross right, they definitely are messing up why all my little guys that can't make it on the main roster aren't stars. And it's just
bribe you to do this.
No, it's honestly like it's maddening. It's like Karrion Kross is not nearly the deal of many of the guys that have came up. He's had honestly not that memorable of a run. B, it's the beginning of a program. I promise you, Karrion Kross is going to destroy Hardy at SummerSlam. Destroy him. He will come out on top on this. And they're trying to give a character that doesn't have much direction and is really just an entrance. And having a female on his arm, which they took away. They're trying to give him something. And this is a story. He's pissed. He said it's the biggest mistake of Hardy's life. He is going to destroy him. This is actually the best thing that could happen to Karrion Kross. Honestly.
You're right. And I'm just glad that we've got a lot of guys in the Team Turnbuckle group. Shout out to you guys that understand that and obviously see. Now, yes, is it the best storytelling? No, but is it an easy way to introduce this dude, which, like you said, for all intents and purposes, hasn't shown he's been that much of a big deal outside of being the man who beat Keith Lee. So this is the way to go, guys.
So just my 2 cents, from what I've heard about Karrion Kross, they're not really playing to his strengths, that he's a much better, like, very quick violence guy, and that having him do this slow, methodical stuff isn't good. I mean, I've been pretty clear that I've not loved it. I think that what this also exposes is and I said this in the group, the issue with NXT since 2019, which is it's not really fish or foul. It's not an co-equal brand, nor really should it be, and it's not a minor league. It's not even a finishing school. And what I think happened was Vince saw AEW and decided that he was going to flex on him and be like, my fucking minor league is going to beat you on the ratings. And so he put it on, and to compete, USA obviously was happy to get in it. Like, okay, another show that gets 1 million people, coolio. But I think that it's not really worked out. It's hurt NXT, and I think that it's just not good. I don't know what else to say. I was of the opinion that, like, it's very funny, was that I thought that it was really crappy that they did that to the NXT champion, given all the work that's been put into getting him over. But, like, it's also hard for me to get upset about Karrion Kross.
And it's also Jeff Hardy, and he cheated. I mean, like, it's not like it was friggin', Elias. No offense to Elias, but I'm saying this is a former champion. They even showed right before, which was really brilliant, and I wish they would do more of that kind of stuff, the promo of all these great moments that Hardy's had as an individual champion.
I do want to say, though, that I would like to compare and contrast the last time an NXT champion showed up on Raw, where Kevin Owens beat...
Let me ask you something, though. Who ended up coming out on top 2 weeks later?
I have no memory of it.
John Cena got his win back 2 weeks later on a pay-per-view on a bigger stage. So I'm just saying, like, I would rather it be the invert. I would rather... Yeah, do what?
Do you pay-per-view bigger stage?
I do, yeah. That was back when you actually had to pay for pay-per-views. They weren't included with the network.
No, it was on the network.
Was it?
Yeah, it was 2015.
Okay. Well, either way, I still think it's a bigger stage. John Cena came out on top. We all know you want to win the last match, not the first, because that's the winner of the feud. And I'm just saying, let's not act like this is not unprecedented. And it's going to be okay. And again, it's so hypocritical for, I guarantee you, people who don't even like Karrion Kross, their NXT marks, are the ones flipping out about this because they want to be able to say, I told you so. Finally, on Off the Top, we knew this was going to happen. John Cena, Keith Lee, Shotzi Blackheart. There seems to be a lot of them on AEW. Nick Gage showed up. I mean, both networks, obviously Daniel Bryan, CM Punk rumored, they are bringing up, trying to just kind of get some new lifeblood into the promotions, and it's really smart. And I stand by, again, I'll be right and wrong, and I'll admit it. I think I was right that I think we're going to find out WWE was really holding in place, relying on their top stars. I mean, thank God for Roman, or God, the last few months, and Bianca, some of those people. But I think that you're going to see that they have a lot of storylines that they just kind of kept in place, waiting for crowds to have that reaction.
Yeah, I mean, even using, I know Chavo Guerrero is not a big deal, but how long has Chavo been away? And Chavo is a revered figure still, and it's not just from, being his relation to Eddie. He had a pretty decent career for himself. So the fact that they waited all this time and, now are starting to pull the trigger, and oh my gosh, if, that last headline is anything, we're really starting like just at the top of the mountain and about to go down the sled on some really great sports entertainment.
Yeah, I think that there was stuff that they were building towards that that I think that especially by the end, I mean, once they knew, I think that they were like, yeah, we're going to hang back on some stuff.
And rightfully so. Let's get into the superlatives of the week real quickly before we do. Again, want to remind everyone that the IB Sports Podcast Network is available on iTunes, Spotify, and Anchor. We would greatly appreciate it if you would follow, rate, review, and share the podcast. There's a lot of good stuff going on this week. There was a fantasy football podcast, a Loki podcast. You got a Minute Fam, obviously Team Turnbuckle. So again, appreciate if you'd subscribe to that. Let's get right off.
Sorry, before you do, can I be petty for a moment?
I guess.
So actually, we were both wrong. Owens didn't beat Cena on Raw. He came out, stomped on the title, the U.S. title, beat him at Elimination Chamber at the pay-per-view.
Owens did?
Yeah. Then he
Cena
lost.
got his win back, though. I know for 110%.
Yeah, he lost. I mean, yeah, he won at Money in the Bank. You were right.
Okay.
I was wrong that he did his first wins on pay-per-view.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry. Let's go.
Okay. So really, you were more wrong than me, but that's okay.
No.
Jesus.
White privilege. The wrestler on the rise is where we're going to start with the superlatives. I have such a hard time doing this because I really wanted to go with my man, bro, Matt Riddle. Like, what a week. He had a great performance in the Money in the Bank. I thought it was really telling that Cena was the one, to give that Cena rub to Riddle, even though I thought the interaction was kind of cheesy, but whatever. It's a big deal. It really is. It's a big deal for Riddle to get chosen for that spot. I mean, remember Daniel Bryan got chosen for a spot with The Rock. I mean, there's, early in they do that stuff on purpose, but I got to go with Lance Archer. And again, I will say when I'm wrong. I have talked a lot of shit about the way AEW has booked guys when they get into their promotion. Lance Archer was one, Miro was one. And just because I don't get what I think they deserve immediately doesn't mean they're not going to get it. Because with Miro, we know right now he's on a huge run. He's got the secondary belt. And then with Lance Archer, to see at the end of that, after he beat Moxley, who, granted, I know this was not a traditional match, but that is the cleanest Moxley has lost in AEW. And for it to be Lance Archer closing the show at his home crowd to win a New Japan title, he's 15-3 on the year. Things are pretty good for Lance Archer. So kudos to him. Kudos to AEW. Lance Archer's my wrestler on the rise.
To be fair,
I'm glad you put him in there because, one of us definitely had to. And for all the reasons that you just listed, I, too, was extremely happy to see this for Lance Archer. And actually looking at his record over the past year, I mean, it's not that he's losing a lot. It's just the program that they put it in. And we just had to be patient as fans. My wrestlers on the rise, because I went with two. We just spoke on one of them, Karrion Kross, and my other one, surprisingly, is Keith Lee. I mean, yes, we get it. He came back in. He got squashed by Bobby Lashley. But, my guy is back. Assuming that he's ready to go, he's healthy, they're going to get him into a program. They're going to fit him in somewhere. I don't know whether it'll be working him back towards the U.S. title picture or whatever the case may be. But both of those gentlemen are going to be seeing a lot more TV time, at least in certain programs, especially Karrion Kross. So they're both my wrestlers on the rise, even though they both took L's.
Keith Lee, to your point, that was a big spot. Like the introduction, the come out to challenge the champ, that was a big spot. And I'd argue he didn't get squashed because, I mean, he broke out of Lashley's submission move, which so far has been, pretty unstoppable lately. And again, obviously he lost soon after, but I'm completely with you that for Keith Lee just to be back, again, you come right back into the championship, basically rotation picture. That is definitely not a negative. People freaking out. I did a little bit myself. He's back.
Ronald, I just have to ask why you would say something so controversial yet so brave.
I've used that gif with someone else because he had talked about the Bucks being the world champion, and it's a guy from Britain. And he's like, how are they world champions when they only play the sport in the USA? And then the guy, my friend Eddie Parkes, had said, well, most Americans don't even get out of their own state. So technically that is their world.
Touche.
My wrestler on the rise, and you're going to be hearing a lot about her because she really impressed me this week, was Charlotte. I know that she lost to Nikki, but just without Becky there, I don't know how you can't say that Charlotte is the all-around best sports entertainer.
No offense to Becky, you can say that with Becky there.
I think Becky is a little. I mean,
you just said all around.
Becky just
I know what
draws
you're about
more
to say.
buzz.
You just said all around. If you're talking
Becky
all around,
just draws
Charlotte.
more buzz and love from the fans.
Becky's a better personality.
I think
Character.
Becky but Charlotte is just Jesus, man. Like
so damn good.
Yeah, and like I said, like I've said this for a while, is that we're gonna get to the fireworks factory, which is her wrestling Bianca Belair, and I'm gonna see a ghost in South Park parlance. It is it's gonna be so good, man.
Sam, we'll stay with you. What's your wrestler on the slide?
I'm going with Kofi. I understand why they did it, and I understand, we talked about this on the Money in the Bank, so I won't belabor it. It kind of works. Like, we should feel bad about a face, and we should be upset that a heel beat him. Kofi's done a lot over the years. He's done, and I thought that that it was a chance to rehab him as a main eventer after the Brock Lesnar debacle. But I mean, it's pretty clear that they see him as a tag guy, and barring another shocking event, he's going to be a tag guy for the rest of his career. But he's still going to always be the first, 100% black WWE champion.
Sadly, it'll be a lot like Ron Simmons, right? Ron Simmons was that way, where didn't he get just a one title run, and then after that, he was always around, but they never really gave him another chance with it.
More tag titles than anything.
Yeah. And even then, I think that Kofi will ultimately have a better career.
Hey, there's Ron's autograph right there.
Not disagree. I'm just saying that, Simmons is another case, another African-American too. Thanks, Vince. Who's your wrestler on the slide, Rono?
Mine is Edge, and this is from more of the fact that it's going to be time for him to, step away from the title picture. Not that he's going to be spending any less time. This is not one of those, like, he's really on the slide kind of things. This is just, he's stepping into his next program. Or will it be just the next program, or can he still work this thing with Seth Rollins into possibly a triple threat match and work his way into another heavyweight championship?
It's like a bizarro world with him and Batista, in the sense that, Batista caught so much shit when he came back. Edge has obviously been hugely over, but I think in both cases, I don't think this is what they signed up for. I really don't. Batista originally was going to win the belt. I would have to think Edge was told when he came back he would probably be the champion. And then, Roman Reigns happened. Daniel Bryan happened.
He got hurt too. I mean, that was I think I still am laughing about how flat-footed the WWE was caught, where they had to crank his music up so that
Sam, this should not surprise. This is the same company that sent, Daniel Bryan out to work the opening match versus Bray Wyatt at a Royal Rumble. And then, then sends poor Rey Mysterio at the end. They've proven time and again, they don't understand crowds. I mean, I think they were shocked by the Becky, when she heel turned on Charlotte and the crowd went nuts, because they tried to push her as the heel for weeks after that. It's like everybody's rooting for this. My wrestler on the slide, Rhea Ripley, talked about it a little bit on the Money in the Bank pay-per-view recap. Her first title run has not been great. I'm glad that I saw a report they officially turned her face. I think she's a better face, even though she's, a monster, especially the kind of heel that they had her playing, or tweener, or whatever it was. So hopefully this will be a restart for her. I don't totally understand how it solidified her face turn to basically beat up Charlotte after the match was over, so a person could cash in, but it's WWE, so who knows. Going to face of the week. The superhero, Nikki Ash. I have my concerns on where this is going, what her career is going to be. Is this the good timing? But you can't deny she had a moment. The crowd was jacked. I felt like that Sam made a really good point that I think he said a hat on a hat and he changed it, but I don't think they needed that cash in. I really don't think they needed it right then and there. There had been enough cool stuff with Goldberg and, you know, Cena and everything, that they didn't need to do that, but that doesn't mean it wasn't the right move. And then I just real quickly before we move on from Nikki and, you know, get into your guys' face of the week, I heard the comparisons of like basically what her ceiling and kind of her floor will be. And I thought this was really good. This was on the Masked Man show. Her floor is Sugar Shane Helms, right? Kind of a similar, you know, gimmick. Somebody that's very over, you know, did the superhero thing. So, I mean, it makes sense. And then they set her ceiling. And again, this is not by their work rate or anything, but just how beloved she is and how respected is Mick Foley. Because like Mick Foley, you will not hear, they said, a fan, a person that works in the, you know, actually as a wrestler, a person that works in the back that will say a bad thing about Nikki. And if you saw the reaction on Twitter, and I'm not talking about from fans, I'm talking about people in the business for her getting this title, it just shows that she is so loved and respected. I just thought that was a very interesting, you know, kind of parallel or comparison.
You know, for the moment it was, I actually appreciated it. I too, of course, have my concerns, which, you know, I'll kind of touch on a little bit later, but it was a great moment. And yeah, I'm extremely happy for her. I don't know whether it's the right thing or not, but, you know, if here's a person who has done everything that, you know, has been asked of her and then had to reform herself and, you know, took a chance on herself and it's paid off. So, you know, kudos to her. My face of the week is the men's Money in the Bank winner, Big E. What a fantastic moment. And I know you guys touched on it. And yes, it was very scary seeing.
Right? Was I not the only one, Ronell, where he was gonna fall?
Like, yo, bro, you're almost 300 pounds at the top of that 10-foot shaky ladder.
It's possible that, you know, the ladders that break are actually silver ladders that they or wooden ladders that they spray paint. So it's possible he was on a wooden ladder too.
I was so worried.
But yeah, it was, but kudos to him. I don't know how long it's going to take. Quite honestly, I hope he at least holds on to this and has fun with the briefcase for the next few months. Because, you know, knowing Big E, he'll find a way to work it into.
Do we think there's any chance that he's going to end up fighting Lashley and not Reigns? That I'm worried that them building up Lashley, I'm serious, is all for Big E to eventually beat him. We joke about the black on black crime in WWE. Is that potentially where we're heading, or do you still think it's going to be Big E Reigns?
I mean, I think Big E Reigns definitely stamps him as a bigger star. Unfortunately, I do feel that it's more likely that Lashley eventually becomes the guy. At least if they pull the trigger on that.
I think they would put Rollins in the main event against Reigns before Big E. Sadly, I don't think it's the right decision necessarily, although I'm not going to complain about that. But I'm saying I could see him head that direction. Ironically, if Big E inserted himself in the SummerSlam match, whether it be at the beginning or in the middle like Seth did, he always talks about that he loves watching, you know, big beefy man slapping against each other. That would be his dream match, him, Goldberg, and Lashley. And I mean, he wins the title that way. That's Big E's dream.
If he doesn't put pancakes in the Money in the Bank briefcase, what are we
I know, right? Doing? Like, what are the writers doing?
My face of the week was John Cena. You know, I talked about Bryan Danielson loving pro wrestling. I think John Cena loves being John Cena in the WWE. I think it's his happy place. Like he just enjoys going out in front of the crowd. He loves the response. Like I genuinely believe that about him. And he, you know, the response that he got was the most unambiguously positive response that he's gotten since this Royal Rumble when he came back in 2008.
Isn't it amazing how he doesn't, like, he's so good at just being John Cena that you would think that would, you know, Rock point to his goosebumps. Some of the guys get a little teary-eyed when they get a reaction like that, like they haven't in forever. And he was just as cool, calm, John Cena, you know, as he always is.
Well, I'll get to that in my storyline you should pay attention to. But I thought that it was, you know, it was like he hadn't missed a beat. I mean, he hasn't been there in what, like 4 years?
Oh, I haven't.
No, not
quite
that long.
Like 2 years, yeah. I believe. But all right, Ron, who's your?
I'm sorry. Before I go, both him and Edge especially were the ones who you can tell, like, it may not have like shown, like you guys said, they did, hold their composure, but those are the guys who you can tell that stuff was coursing through their veins, feeling that crowd reaction.
If Cena's going to be around for a while, by the way, we better get one more Edge Cena match. I mean, I think it's one of the underrated rivalries in the history of wrestling. And I would love to see them go at it again. Ronald, who's your heel of the week?
My heel of the week are the Usos. The Bloodline finally doing what they're supposed to do.
Draped in silver gold.
Dripped in. Yeah, I mean, it is silver. I mean, they are, but
yeah, Ronell can pretty much just now, good. Whatever belt we want to talk about, Ronell just goes, hold on, let me go to my belt case behind me.
But yeah, congratulations to Jimmy and Jey Uso, and congratulations to Roman Reigns for kind of making sure, like, hey, we're going to slap you in the face about your thing on the pay-per-view.
Also just Roman apparently deserves credit if you listen to his promo for their titles, which again, he's on such another level as a heel right now that at first he's like, I'm proud of you. And he goes, I told you, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, yeah. And you, Sam, who's your heel of the week?
My girl, Charlotte. I thought that the coming out and the promo that she cut, and she's her daddy's daughter, man. And perfect to hate. They finally, they've been trying to make her a face. It's like, what are you doing? She's a Flair. No one liked Flair until Flair got to be like a Shar-Pei puppy. And everyone's like, oh, Flair's sad now.
Well, it's just like with Reigns, right? And this is the same thing I said. Charlotte is a good-looking, strong, you know what I'm saying? Got the bloodline, everything. Who the hell likes those people in life, right? That have everything. They're heels.
Nobody.
They're usually arrogant and rightfully so. I mean, I'm with you. It just doesn't.
You motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. My heel of the week, and he didn't even wrestle. It's just how good he is MJF. His commentary, like Chris Jericho, we've rightly, praised for his commentary. MJF was incredible on Wednesday. His, a joke about what you call a good-looking woman in Texas is a tourist. His introduction of Nick Gage, just everything about him. He's probably even with Reigns right now, the most committed guy in his character. He knows who his character is. He knows what he's not even playing. It feels like, and I guess that's the way it should be for good actors, good wrestlers, it's hard to tell the line. Like, where is the guy that MJF actually is and where is the wrestler? And that's the only guy I can really ever remember saying that about is Ric Flair and The Undertaker. And The Undertaker didn't even keep that for long, right? Like, he eventually turned into definitely two different characters. MJF is just out of this world good right now. And I don't necessarily agree. RC made a great point that I don't know if Jericho, what the sense of him kind of going through the pinnacle to get back to MJF, which Sam made a good point when we were talking earlier that it's, just for MJF to eventually beat Jericho. And okay, I get that, but I don't understand how that helps other guys in Pinnacle who are mostly guys I would think that they have plans for in the future, to have Jericho just kind of mow through them. But
hey, if we're gonna be holding ourselves accountable, I know I typed it in the group. I know I was the one on this podcast that said no, they have to keep feuding. Well, I got what I want, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen?
Done with it?
Wah wah wah.
It just feels like that, especially with Jericho. There's so many other places that he can be making an impact on that roster. And for MJF, whether it's Hangman or Omega, get that dude in the title picture. The time is now. I feel like that you have to,
Yeah, before that fire,
he would be the most entertaining guy, especially if you got guys like Daniel Bryan and could you imagine MJF champion with Daniel Bryan or CM Punk chasing him? Oh my God, or you build, Jungle Boy, whoever. But anyway, the match of the week, Charlotte Rhea, I know I said this on the Money in the Bank post podcast, but again, just have to when you have a crowd that is chanting for another superstar's name and 10 minutes later, they're chanting, this is awesome. This is awesome. This is awesome. And it was you have put on a banger of a match. And again, I rewatched it a third time. It is the most physical. I can now say that without a doubt. It's the most physical match I've ever seen. I don't watch New Japan. I don't, basically WWE, AEW, NXT. That's the scope of my wrestling watching. But it is by far the most physical women's match. Ironically, I think the answer before that was Becky and Charlotte at Evolution in that last man standings match where they just beat the shit out of each other. And this reminded me of that. But I think that in a week that was loaded with good matches, there was 2 I know on AEW. You had several from the pay-per-view. Charlotte, Rhea, good job.
Yeah, and I'm completely co-signing everything you said. I do give Rhea Ripley the one thing about her first title reign. At least she's a little bit sharper in the ring. Maybe it helped the fact that she was fighting someone bigger than she was, so that she wasn't necessarily the strongest one in the ring, but it just worked. And you guys were right. It looked like they had spent that entire match just stiffing the absolute crap out of each other. And it worked.
The suplex, by the way, can we talk about that real quick? The strength on
both of their
Rhea and
yes.
Charlotte to bring her legs up. That was incredible.
From what looked like almost
it was
guillotine.
Done. They had messed up. Like they were both like, oh shit. And then literally you can see Rhea
power down.
And Charlotte like literally lift her legs over her head.
The one thing is, because Charlotte's a gymnast, she needs to drop the moonsault because she gets at best an elbow. My match of the week, I went with the men's Money in the Bank, which is much just because of the result and because of like some of the crazier, the great RKO spot, the Ricochet just doing like crazy shit.
Being Ricochet.
Yeah. And what Ricochet was there to do.
Yeah.
The promo of the week, you got into it a little bit, Sam. John Cena. We did a promo bracket of the best talkers of all time in the group. My only real complaint, like serious complaint with the list, was John Cena was not on there. Even when I didn't like John Cena, you have to admit the dude can talk. Like I've seen him numerous times turn a crowd that's against him into cheering. And I think you made the point of, he loves this, the passion. Absolutely. Like you could feel it. He was so happy to be the one there to get that reaction from a crowd, the first Raw and forever in front of a full live crowd. And he knows how to keep getting them louder. And sometimes it's, getting that Mick Foley cheap pop. Sometimes it's, just talking what he's talking. Sometimes it's calling Roman Reigns an asshole. Whatever it was, he did it. And there's something about these guys, like the John Cenas, the Rocks, the Stone Colds, the Hogans, the Flairs, like, there's a reason there's only so many people that you can honestly talk about as the greatest wrestlers of all time. And it's because you can't just do it in the ring. You have to also have that personality, that ability on the mic. And when Cena gets in the ring and really is committed to cutting a good promo, it's hard to argue anybody since The Rock has been better.
Yeah, and he's one of those dudes that, like, man, I wish he was in IBS yesterday for roast day.
Right, yeah.
Jesus. He would just be able to go on all day. Like, and I was one of those guys that for a long time I was like, oh God, Cena again. But that's just and it's kind of like LeBron with me, that
it's a good comparison.
You spend so much time seeing it and it's so good, and you're just like, why more? Well, sorry, these people are just good at what they do.
And they build up those around them, right? They make the people challenging them, whether they win or lose, seem so much more important. And that's why I love the LeBron comparison. It's the exact same thing.
That was actually one thing I was going to criticize Cena for, is that I think he can at times do too much of like going into, going to business for himself a little bit and cutting people down in a way that if you're not John Cena, you can't do. And Punk was absolutely better on the mic than Cena. Come on. Sorry, man.
It depends on what you're talking about. It's a long time for Cena to be kind of at the top of the game. I would argue maybe not, but I'd have to think about it longer. Either one of y'all, who's your pro? Or go ahead, Brano.
Honestly, I was going to say Seth at Money in the Bank, but you're right. It's John Cena.
No, let's talk about Rollins because
The reason I wanted to bring up the Rollins thing is just because it was just a great thing where you saw him, especially mid promo, just like, wait, I need a new plan. That's it. I'm just going to execute a new plan. And like you guys had mentioned on the post pay-per-view podcast, we had heard him say that it would be easier for him to target Edge, for help Edge get the championship because it'll be easier to get the title off of him. So to see him go in that main event and actually help Roman and just like, listen, me and you are going to be talking next. I don't care about this Money in the Bank stuff. I just thought that it was just really excellent work.
Which really makes sense, right? Rollins has a really good record against Reigns, A. And B, can we talk about Rollins having the dad bod now? Have y'all noticed that? Since he's had the child,
got
it's a little bit more gut. It's not quite the six pack. Like,
I mean, he can't do CrossFit, I guess.
I love it.
I know I didn't in the format, but I'm gonna go with the promo of the week for me was Charlotte. I thought the weakness that she always had was that she was not a great promo, that it felt like she was reading off of cue cards and that she could get flustered by the crowd. And they came in and they did the "We Want Becky" thing, and she was prepared for it. She shut it down. And
that was Stephanie McMahon level, just like, nope, we're not going there.
I actually am not a fan of Stephanie. I feel like that's shortchanging Charlotte. I think that it was a
I'm sorry, Stephanie knows what to do when you get that mic in her hands.
Yeah.
I think that, but I thought that Charlotte, it was a great heel promo. I thought that she, did a good job of getting herself over. I love that she redirected the crowd.
All right, storylines you need to pay attention to. I was going to talk about the Money in the Bank fallout because I am interested about Big E. Is he going to end up going after Lashley? Is it going to be Reigns? Will it be somebody else? Will Goldberg win the title at SummerSlam and then he'll chase them? Oh, man, Sam's head would explode. And then obviously, like, what is this reign going to be for Nikki? How long? But we haven't brought it up. The pop for Hangman coming out to Omega, I think that AEW would make a huge mistake if they do not let Hangman go over Omega when they meet next. I really do. I think it's going to be a mistake because you're going to squash all this momentum. Like you just
Sammy,
are.
I'm sorry. I hate to disagree with you, Sammy. I hate to disagree with you, Sammy. No, that's the move. Like, it's funny how I was just talking about, are we going to start seeing him gain his confidence or whatever the case may be? And then what does he do? He steps to the ring by himself for Dolo and steps to 4 dudes
with a beer in his hand.
He needs
whiskey, whatever.
You can do it so that it's a fuck finish.
No. It's gonna kill the momentum. We saw it with MJF. I mean, with Orange Cassidy. We've seen it. Like when these people are red hot.
And
like Cassidy is just not.
The crowd's so ready for this.
They love that dude. Okay, anyway, we'll argue about that.
I've been having this argument with my friend Mary. I'm going to make him listen to this because he's going to love this. My storyline to pay attention to is the Jericho, Nick Gage, like putting a 51-year-old Jericho in there with Nick Gage, who legitimately might kill him.
So what's the Painmaker? Because I'm sorry, I don't watch New Japan. Can somebody explain me in like a minute what is the Painmaker?
The Rainmaker?
Is it Rainmaker? I'm sorry. This is how little I know about it.
It's Kazuchika Okada's finisher. It's a short arm. Like,
no, but I'm saying Jericho called himself like the Painmaker.
Jericho's character.
Or something when he had the face paint.
That was sort of like his character in New Japan.
But I'm saying, was he like extreme or something over there? Or was it just
they covered up for the fact that he wasn't as good of a worker by having it be like a no holds barred.
Okay.
Gotcha, because I didn't know either.
It is.
What level do you think they're gonna go? Because I mean, does Nick Gage have a PG-13?
I mean, he better. Jericho's gonna be 51 in November. I'm not joking about him getting killed by Nick Gage.
He almost
Nor
killed
am
David Arquette.
I watched his Dark Side of the Ring.
Watch the David Arquette documentary. Like David Arquette, he stabbed him in the knife with a piece of glass. Arquette's like, oh my God. He does, to his credit, do the finish and gets pinned, and then he goes to the hospital. I mean, it was scary. Like you could tell Luke Perry was very scary. Anyway, what's your storyline to pay attention to right now?
Honestly, you brushed it off, and it's quite fitting. I mean, I love Nikki Ash. I don't know what the Raw Women's Title picture is going to look like. Whether or not the rumors of Becky lingering about is
Don't
that
tell me
leading
that,
to
Ron. We
I
know that
know,
I'll
but
share
I
that
mean,
like it's hot.
did she not tweet that herself from her, with her location? I mean,
What about the arm? Did you see that one on Instagram where somebody goes, I think that's Becky Lynch. This is Becky Lynch running down in Dallas or wherever they were, and Becky Lynch goes, how do you know that's Becky Lynch and not somebody with just really amazing shoulder definition? I mean, she's just the queen of social media. I love her so much.
I didn't see that.
Do you think Nikki, if she loses the title, say by SummerSlam, it's going to be all for naught?
No, I don't think so. I honestly think that, like I said earlier, she deserves a little bit of payout for the work that she's done. She's had to go through a few different things from her feud to Alexa, which, considering that they put them together as a tag team and never really addressed that, was kind of stupid to me, but whatever.
Maybe they'll come back to it.
Maybe, but I think that even if they, do wind up getting it off of her, I actually hope she makes it to SummerSlam.
She better at least get a triple threat match out of it. I mean, it's literally 4 weeks away, in case y'all didn't know. Ronell, we got to the end of the podcast. You got anything you want to
plug? Before I plug anything, I actually, because I've been sitting on this for a minute, and we just actually passed the first anniversary to our guy Sam Howe for you guys doing the Money in the Bank. So Sammy's been with us
1 year of Daniel Bryan ejaculation and Randy Orton hatred.
let the Randy Orton haterade flow. But not only that, and right before we jumped on here, I want to send a happy birthday shout out to the Shane McMahon of IB Sports, Luke Carlton, RC's son. I just so happened to scroll past the post that he is, trying to upload his pictures and so on and so forth. Happy birthday, Luke Carlton. Other than that, the IBS, the IB Entertainment, all the Facebook groups. We just passed Roast Day, like I had mentioned earlier. Just fantastic. If you think you can really talk sports and can hang, and you can hang on your laurels, come test this group of a few thousand and see what you really got. But bring your big boy pants, because they don't play all the way nice there.
I'm gonna plug the group. I actually spent Roast Day on my back. I hurt my back, and so I was lying on the floor the entire day working.
He hurt his back from carrying the Team Turnbuckle podcast trio for the last year. That's what he's trying to say.
No, I wish it was that. I heard it doing squats on my last set. I wish I would have never heard the end of it from IBN. So yeah, I spent most of the day on my floor on my back, which is pretty funny.
Roasting everybody else.
Yeah, I was like, you people. I would pick up my phone. It was not great. The group, I would also gonna plug Sundown Motel, which is Bill Handstock's Twitter account. Bill's a great writer. Keith's been reading his book.
Just finished it. It's great.
So All-Star Perks. Be an all-star.
And he mentioned the Twitter. Please do follow the Twitter page, Team Turnbuckle Podcast. We'd greatly appreciate that. Again, the IB Sports Podcast Network, available on iTunes, Spotify, and Anchor. And we appreciate you guys listening. We love talking this stuff. And honestly, this was the first week in a long time that I really enjoyed watching all the wrestling and was excited about it. There's a bunch of good news. I think wrestling's back. I really do. I said that. No, okay. I said it a few months ago. I think there's going to be a renaissance. I really do in wrestling. I think there's a vacuum here that they can really take over if it's really good, because the live crowds are hot. And we know that's what the most important thing is the live crowds. Because then if you can just give, as Sam said on Monday, decent storytelling and programming, the crowd's going to be nuts. And that's what it's all about. But for Sam the Shooter Howe, ravishing, draped in gold/silver Ronell Tinsley, and Chief Keith Fleming, this has been another episode of the Team Turnbuckle Podcast on the IB Sports Podcast Network.